Hi, I'm Nicole with When Geeks Craft, and today we're going to be making a D20 lamp. I've always been interested in stained glass, but I never really knew where to start. One of the first videos on this channel, I actually made these Zelda stained glass panels out of acrylic and resin. Then I made this D20 along the road, which kind of uses very similar ideas to stained glass. It's kind of all just attached together into a certain shape. Now this was made out of all walnut and a ton of super glue, but I always wanted to turn this into a lamp and I didn't know how. Then I decided to just spend a ton of money on all the stained glass supplies and just kind of give it a try. Hi?
Oh, she's way too sweet.
I had Turi make me a form of the final shape of the lamp so I could use this to properly solder everything into place. So let's go make it. I need to cut out 20 identical pieces. Using a paper template that I'll have available on Patreon, I attached the paper to my glass sheets using some glue stick. 4 pieces fit perfectly onto one small sheet. I'm using a bunch of colors because I was using a 4x6 sample glass pack I found on Amazon. Any stained glass will work for this. The glass I'm using is an opaque glass, meaning that there's a lot more pigment added. I wanted to use this kind of glass to help obscure the light bulb that I plan on putting inside. Now that all the pieces are attached, it's time to start cutting. I put on my cut-resistant gloves, added oil to the tool, and started scoring. Since triangles are simple shapes, my running pliers did a lot of the hard work. You can only go so far with pliers though. Eventually, you will need to grind the glass down to get a flat edge. Cutting glass leaves uneven edges. A glass grinder will get all those edges nice and flat and ready for tape. I'm still wearing my gloves because you need to apply a good amount of pressure to the glass to get it to grind properly. Because of this, you can easily cut yourself. Now the grinder is just about the messiest tool I've ever owned because it sprays water and glass shards in every single direction. I put my grinder inside of my fume hood to help mitigate the spraying, but make sure that you're covering up your skin and have proper eye protection because it's glass and it's flying everywhere. Be smart. Now that all the glass has smooth edges, it's time to remove the paper and make sure the pieces are clean. If you try to attach the copper tape to a dirty piece of glass, you will not have good adhesion and it will eventually wear away. So keep it clean, people. Now it's tape time. I marked out about how long each tape needs to be on my mat with 2 dots to try to avoid waste. The tape I'm using has a copper back. I picked this tape because I plan on making the tape have a copper patina after I solder onto it. There are copper tapes that are silver backed or black backed. This matters if you are using clear glass because with clear glass, you'll see the inside of the tape. Always be conscious of this when you're picking out what tape you want to use, especially if you plan on adding a patina after you're done with your project. The red tool I'm using, I believe, is called a FID, which is a piece of plastic that you use to push the tape down. There's another wonky piece that comes in a pack, but I don't know enough about stained glass to tell you what that piece does, but for right now, all I know is that this piece of plastic that comes in a FID pack is great for smushing tape down. So that's what I'm using it for. Somewhere off camera, I took 5 triangles and cut off a bit of them to make room for the lamp to go in. Now it's soldering time. The solder I'm using does contain lead. It is 60% tin, 40% lead solder. This is again why I'm still wearing gloves and why I have the piece in my airbrush fume hood. Stained glass is a lead-based hobby. They do have lead-free solder, but when you're learning how to do stained glass, it's much easier to learn with lead solder. Obviously, this is not safe for pieces that you would wear, but for a decorational piece, leaded solder is perfectly fine. If you plan on doing stained glass for something you want to wear, I would highly recommend learning how to use lead-free solder. The form I'm using is a 3D printed form, meaning it can't take too much heat. I'm only leaving the piece in the form long enough to tack weld it into place. Then I'm removing it because solder flows at 700 degrees. That would super melt the 3D printed form, and I need it to stay in its perfect shape. Until the shape was assembled, I only worried about finishing the interior of the die because I was not going to be able to get back in there once it was all complete. The first pass of solder fills in the crack. The second pass levels out those cracks, and the finishing pass makes sure that the solder joints look nice. My solder joints aren't beautiful, but I'm also learning, and this is like my third project I've done with stained glass. It's something I expect to get better at over time, but I'm definitely a novice here. Now let's let this soldering montage roll because it is pretty satisfying. Once the piece was soldered, I cleaned it in the sink with some soap and water, and I used a copper patina to add the copper coloring.
To make the base for the stained glass, I cut out and printed a bunch of pieces from the fusion model I created for this project. The materials used are walnut plywood and atomic bronze metallic PLA. It uses a few different types of fastening, threaded inserts and screws on a few pieces, tab and slot on many of the laser cut pieces, and of course, as always, a good amount of CA glue. This was one of those projects where I just let my brain go for it. Only had the basic dimensions and the 3D shape of the D20, somehow I got to here. Using laser cutting and 3D printing together is so rewarding as it can make things greater than each can do alone. It's becoming harder and harder to get out of the mindset to use them together for every project now. To light the lamp, I found a snap-in candelabra E12 socket base that has an inline switch. The bulb is a clear glass warm white Edison candelabra type. I used water locks to finish the walnut. If you've watched a few of our recent videos and keep seeing the walnut metallic bronze combo, I hope it's obvious why. And if it's not, it's because they look so good together. It looks so good.
It's so good!
We want to give a shout out to all our Patreon members. It's because of your support that we're able to make cool things. If you want to make this lamp, all the files will be on Patreon. Link is in the description. Thanks for watching. See you all next time.